So we can keep talking. This is always the pre-pod bit, isn't it?
Yeah, you can do a wee bit.
I like the wee pre-prod. Pre-prod.
Yeah, this is a bit nerve-wracking, but we'll manage it. We'll get it done. Let's fucking kick it off. Hello, and welcome to the Good Roundup. Good is a brand consultancy, and we're based in London and Glasgow, and every month we send out a cheeky wee email with various bits and pieces that we've been thinking about over the past month. This podcast digs a little deeper into each of the things that we talk about. It's almost the director's commentary, if you will. My name's Stuart Steele, I'm the strategy director here at Good, and I'm joined by Mr. Christopher Lumsden, Good's founding partner.
Oh, how very grand.
You're a very grand chap.
It all sounds very professional.
Well, no, it is. It's a whole new podcast setup, and it's our first one, and it's who knows if we're going to get it right or we're going to get it wrong.
I wonder if there will be a second.
Of course there will.
Of course
there will. We send out an email every month, and it's got 3 things in it. And last month we sent out one, and the first thing that we talked about was reporting.
This was your piece, Joe.
Yes, yeah. And so when I'm talking about reporting,
are you going to tell us why do we like reporting?
Yeah, and it's interesting. Reporting is the end of the entire process, and reporting, but it's not about looking at the past, it's looking about the future. And the work that we've been doing with reporting recently has been about the fact that it's one of these things that when you've done all the work and put it out there and everybody's got it signed off, and finally the media plan, and you've done all the ads and you're putting it out and everybody's kind of listened to it, and then you've actually got to report on how it has performed, because you're so used to just getting it out the way, it becomes a bit more tricky to understand how the reporting structure should work.
And is this reporting all digital?
It can be anything, really, because ultimately what it should be doing is tying back to the objectives that you set for the campaign in the first place. But it should be anything. But because of the nature of where we are in the world, seems to be more digital reporting. And the great thing about data when it comes to the digital reporting is that you can get tons of it. And the worst thing about data in the age of digital reporting is that you can get tons of it. And we've seen some reports that have come out that are just basically 15 PowerPoint slides of cut and paste Google Analytics sheets. And that's just not very good for anybody, and it's not very exciting. But
if the numbers are big, people get excited.
Oh, who doesn't love a big number? So the big number. And the kind of thing is with that is it's actually about trying to go back to business goals and smart objectives and trying to work out, well, when we're talking about business goals, has the campaign achieved those business goals, and is the reporting telling you not just what's happened, because that's kind of by the by now, but A, are you hitting those goals, and B, what are you going to do to improve the goals the next time that you go, the next week of the campaign? There is the kind of thing where there's an adage that 60% of your media budget should be spent on adjusting the campaign to make sure you're optimizing it. So anytime you're looking at reporting, what you're really looking for is not just what happened, but it's an indicator of what you should do next to make the campaign more effective in the future. And that kind of framework is kind of, what are the KPIs you set themselves, and what should you be doing next month to kind of make it better? And some of these KPIs, like going, right, we're going to make sure the click-through rate is less than $5.
Yeah, so these KPIs can be quite, not generic, but they don't have to be driven specifically by numbers, do they? They could be aspirational, can they?
Yeah, I mean, they should be. I mean, it's something you've got, because you're not going to hit it every month. You're going to try and make them work out, and you should be trying to get these campaign numbers down all the time. And the reporting framework should be such that it works for different layers. So I've been on calls with clients who are doing the reporting back, and the challenge is with the reporting is that you just sit there and go, and we got 25 clicks through that, and we got this and this, and it's like going, this is boring and it doesn't tell me anything, when actually what it should be doing is the campaign that relates to this has performed this well. It has delivered 500 leads. Each lead is costing $6 and each visitor is costing $2. That is above or below our target of this X, Y, and Z. And then you kind of go, then there's 3 things, and it's Avinash Kuzak's. I love Avinash. I'm an Avinash fan. But Avinash Kuzak says don't do the data puke. Don't just kind of put out all the numbers because you just get blind to them. Try and find 3 things. What is concerning about the campaign that you've just done? What are you going to do to rectify that? And what is the outcome that you get at the end?
Well, I
of
was
that
going to
thing?
say outcomes is something you always talk about. Outcomes over activity.
Oh, you're not wrong there.
Because what you've described so far is there's a lot of descriptions or a lot of data about activity over outcome, right?
And that's, I mean, my favourite one, you might have heard me moan about this a couple of times, is
Maybe.
the report where it had a report of best performing Facebook ad.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Apparently it was 50%.
50% click-through rate, which everybody's, ooh, and then you can actually kind of see that it was only shown twice. So it's accurate, but it's pointless.
The curse of percentages.
Exactly. And that's a very good point. Like, don't hide behind percentages, and that's another thing. So the reporting is kind of, I call it metric mediocrity, because the metrics don't really mean anything. It's about tying it to KPIs and just trying to make sure that you're understanding how things could be improved, what you're going to do about it, put some smart objectives around it, and then understand the impact. And just don't send the CMO of your organization a 15-slide PowerPoint of Google Analytics stuff.
Because different people need different stuff.
Yeah. All the CMO generally wants is big green arrows. Everything's going up. It's hitting
Everyone
target.
likes green arrows.
Everybody loves a green arrow. And then the other kind of side of it is just making sure that it's, but other people will need the detail. So when you're actually talking to your media agency or whatever, you might want that detail. But whatever you do, don't understand who you're talking to and send the reporting out, because it's vital. Because digital has kind of got the feel of being the nirvana of marketing, but it's got a lot of data right behind it, and it just feels if you don't show actual progress, then you're not going to. The marketing function within the organization is being seen as an expense. And if you can make your report prove that you're actually generating income for the business, you're only going to get more budget. People are going to spend money where money is being made. And that's what your report is either trying to show or demonstrating how you're going to get back on that path if for whatever you've had a bad month.
So what would your advice be if you're reading your article or listening to this and it's difficult, because it is, as when you're close to it. You talked earlier on about keeping it simple. What would your advice be?
You need to know what you're measuring. That's the first thing. You can't go into a report going, I don't know what I'm going to measure, because that's where the data puke comes. And so there's been a couple of times we've worked with media agencies. They go, well, we don't know what we're measuring, so we're just giving
Measuring
you
everything. Yeah.
So it's kind of going, well, that's great.
Yeah.
So the first thing is understand what the objective of the campaign is, which sounds pretty straightforward, but it's amazing how many times it's there. And then secondly, everything should then flow from that, because from there, then you can kind of go, well, if it's not, the objective of the campaign is we expect to get 10,000 leads. Fine. How much of each of these leads cost? Right. We're expecting each lead to be $5, which means you're spending, here's where my math comes in, $50,000. So, and it's just going, right, so it's all $5. Ideally, you want to get less than $5. So you might say, well, we're going to push it and we want $4. And keep measuring and just trying to improve on those numbers and just keep focusing. And don't go crazy on the numbers. Just pick one or two.
Start.
Yeah. And then build up. And then look at, once you've got there, how do you improve the campaign? What does improvement look like, and build up from there? And even if it's on one page, a one-page summation of how your campaign's done as a report without banks and banks of tables and tables of numbers is much more informative and intuitive than the horrible option of a million terrible, horrible slides. I hate that.
Nobody likes those, especially when there are the slides. Well, you can do them with fewer slides, but then what happens is the point size gets smaller and smaller, and you get more and more content.
Well,
more and more on one slide.
See, that's interesting, because I've heard, because we've seen those.
That's when it lives in a drawer.
Yeah, and we've seen those, and my understanding of why those slide decks happen, I've been told, is that people at the top don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So they've been told, which I think is hilarious. So what you do is, right, make sure no more than 10 slides. But then what you do is you just put 10,000 words on per slide.
The entire works of Shakespeare on 10 slides.
But I've done it. It's only 10 slides, big man.
Nobody's reading it.
Nobody's reading it. No, and so you're there, and then you're surprised that you haven't got a promotion.
Sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another topic we'll get to later.
So that was my reporting thing. It's part of a series of digital services that we offer, one of which is reporting, and it's something I'm quite passionate about, and that was the other thing. But the other thing that you put up, Chris, your article last week, was brand architecture. And for
About
those,
brand architecture, yeah.
and for those that are maybe a little unclear on what, because brand is one of those words that means a lot to a lot of people. A lot of things, a lot of people. It'd be interesting. What is your
You're going to ask me
definition?
what brand architecture
What is, before we get into your article, what is brand architecture?
That's a great question. So I think, well, at its simplest, it's a system, I suppose, that allows brands, products, services, that allows businesses to organize their brands, products, and services in a way that makes it easy for people to relate or find the brand, product, or service they want from that organization. And a good system allows people to just very easily find the thing they want, either from a menu or online or whatever, really, really simply without any noise or confusion. Does that?
Yeah, but a good
sound
example.
simple?
Yeah, because the one, when we're talking around clients, the example we show is cars.
Yeah.
So
there, yeah. Well, I suppose BMW is always one we've pointed at as a really, really clear, simple corporate system. All the equities in the main brand, which has actually just evolved. You sent something the other day. There's a lot of debate about that, as there always is when brands change. But generally, they've built all of the equity and meaning into the badge, BMW, and their products are just alphanumeric, 320, 350, whatever they are, all the way through. And it's really simple. There are other options. Ford do it the other way. They give all of their products names, and they try and build equity into each of these names, whether it's a Fiesta or a Mondeo or whatever it is. Different systems.
and your article was about,
Diligence.
yeah, and how not, and especially, and we've seen this in a couple of examples recently, when a company buys a company, and what do they do?
Well, they do all the important stuff first, like the diligence around numbers and values and rationalizing plants and staff and stuff like that. That's all in the headlines, which is great. I think the thing that is overlooked or naturally just comes further down the line is, how do we bring the portfolios together, or how do we bring brands or products that do similar things together? And I think in the recent past, we've seen 2 or 3 organizations, big organizations, struggle with that a little bit and probably realize that they've come to it a bit too late and perhaps not been on the front foot with it. So it was just I wrote a piece about, don't forget to do the diligence on how you bring these brands or portfolios together, because it's never too early to start thinking about it. And I think that if it is left too late, sometimes there's a tendency to just bring them together and create some sort of hybrid mark, and it's a bit of a band-aid, and it doesn't really work in the long term. And so this would allow organizations to help avoid that sense of friction, if you like.
Because I think the surprising thing when I kind of started working here back in when I was 16 or something, is when you kind of look back on it, what's surprising is that on paper it in theory seems to be quite a simple process. You've got 2 brands and then you can work it out. But the challenge isn't necessarily in the graphic articulation or the new logo or whatever it is, but it's more stakeholders and internal.
Yeah, it's emotion, it's people, and it's people that have spent years and years and hundreds and millions of dollars building equity or meaning into brands, products, and then being told that they're going to change. That's hard. Change is hard. And we I remember one of the first projects we did with a big company who had bought lots of organizations and hadn't done anything with the portfolios. And I reached a point, I went to a sales conference, and they were unable to represent themselves internally. The sales guys couldn't manage to talk about their brands and products. So at that point, you realize that if they can't do it, the customers have got no chance. So, and it is a particular B2B issue. I think that a lot of the work we do seems to be to take a comb through that stuff or rationalize the sub-brands, in inverted commas, because they're just not needed. Generally in a B2B sense, there's a smaller customer base, and generally, rule of thumb is that the equity or the recognition is all in the main brand, like the BMW example, and the rest of the stuff should just be descriptive or alphanumeric. It's much, much easier and much cheaper to manage and grow that in the long term.
So what are your hints and
So
tips.
things that I said, yeah. Well, I think that 5 top tips, it might not be 5 top tips anymore, but
They're all top tips.
they're all top tips.
They're all top.
So the first one was about change being a positive thing. One of the big things were there's resistance about the change. As I said, people are very emotionally engaged to stuff. People think that the customer base won't be able to survive the change, that it's so important that they're different. And nothing, of course, this could be further from the truth. People are smart and able to discern difference and understand that sometimes brands change. And if you manage it on the front foot, it can be a positive marketing effect and a positive thing for the brand. So, people can survive lots of change. It's the old Snickers marathon thing. If these guys at FMCG level can do it, anyone can do it. So change is not necessarily a thing to be feared, was number one. Second one was always about the consultation. Unless you talk to the right people internally and they're all on the bus facing the right way and they're all up for it, you've got trouble. May not see it right away, but it'll be further down the line. So you need to talk to everybody, make them feel like they've been consulted and they have a say in what's going on, from the senior management team through to the contact staff or call center staff or whatever it is. Take soundings and speak to people. And also talk to customers, get a feeling of what that means, the brand means. And that might be, you need to commission some research, whatever it is, but talk to lots of people so that it doesn't come back to bite you in the bum. That was 2. 3 is, you're going to have, there is going to be some pain. We're talking about, cutting things earlier, sacrifice. Sometimes hard pruning is going to be better for the future. And I think that the people that are involved at the client side need to understand and know that at the beginning of the process, that the chances are we're not going to be able to please everybody all of the time. So it may be that names get cut or merged or whatever it is. So expect some pain is a thing, but it will be better for the business in the long term. Number 4 was the point we made about the mother brand, actually, and the point I made about the B2B, customers being relatively small. This a thing that we've seen quite frequently is that there's the runaway system of people creating sub brands and sub identities, because it's quite good fun, and you get to have a little logo and another name, and people like coming up with names, and then you realize we've got 50 names, and what do any of them mean? And there's no convention around how these names are created, and then therefore it's difficult back to the navigation and your architecture systems shot. So generally, our job is to repatriate all of that stuff into the mother brand and just keep it clean. The mother brand tends to be where the value is, so never stray too far from there. And then the last one is fairly obviously, if you're going to change stuff and you're creating new names or changing names, get legal advice early. You don't want to get caught out. And specifically, I'd say, or the build I'd add to that is, it's not just general sort of legal counsel, it's specific patent attorney advice. We've seen a couple of jobs where a business has felt that they're in the right and they're okay, and then only to be found later, much further down the line, when there's much more work being done, that there may be a problem with registering X, Y, or Z. So I think it's really important that that's done and taken on board early. So they're kind of the 5 things around architecture.
It's a big topic.
It's something that we see again and again. Yeah. And actually, the guy that we like and admire, Mr. Mark Ritson, he talks about this quite a lot, saying that he has seen many of the challenges he's seen in his professional career. He can track back up to something as mundane as, why do the logos not fit properly on the business card? Or how do I find this on a website, or whatever it is? And it is the challenges manifest themselves in some fairly odd places. But it's important to just follow that thread and then deal with the problem at source. And it can be difficult. It needs a bit of leadership and bravery. It's tough. And it's easy for us to sit on the outside and say, kill that brand. But
is that not also part of the strength?
Well, you've got to be objective. Yeah. And that's why I think many clients will hire us. Because I think, for them, it's easier to hear that advice from people like us rather than maybe their marketing department, So, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And so I was the filler in the sandwich.
Oh,
you are the other bit of bread.
Oh, I'm chunky like bread, me.
But this is the Bob Hoskins topic.
Yeah, but beautiful Bob.
What prompted this? I mean, you wrote a piece about how to help us to help you.
Help us to
How
help
getting
you,
the best from
staff
your agency.
members.
What do you mean? What was this all about?
You get sent stuff and emails and have a look at this and have a look at that. And it was a thing from Digiday. Digiday, links in the show notes. And basically it was talking about how planning function in agencies is getting squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter because clients are under more and more stress to understand more and more channels and the best way to do it. So what's happening is the brief comes in, but the brief is, can we do this? And actually, agencies are now spending more time writing the brief than actually solving the brief.
And how important is the brief?
Well, that is a cracker.
Or is that a whole
That's
other
a
podcast?
cracker.
Probably a whole
I know. I mean, I think. I mean, it's a good. I think it's got to be important, if nothing else, because you can. What you can do is you say sometimes the brief feels like, and I'm suggesting no client of ours is like this, but
Of course
but
not.
of course not. But I mean, I've seen clients. I've seen it in the past where what it is like we need an asset. And that's the brief. But that,
Yeah.
we need an asset that says this, and that's what they're saying. You're kind of going, why do you need that asset? And half
been
of the work's been done.
self-diagnosed,
Yeah, half the work's been done. Whereas you kind of then sit and go, the brief is important because it gives you context in a way that's formalized that you can share within the agency. Because
Sure.
a good brief you can share with the planning function, which
Account
which I'm working-
services.
client services, client services, and the design team, and we're all working off the same page. What you're not getting is the whispers of what everything is.
Yeah. Okay,
And-
sorry, I pushed you off.
No,
beat
no,
there. We
no,
could
no.
probably do that in another
No,
podcast.
but I think it's good because it ties in very well with this. So what we tend to get, because it's more complicated now, in theory the landscape's more, where do you go? Is it on the Instas? Do you do a bit of this? Do you do a bit of socials? Do you do this? Where does it go? And the clients, good marketeers are generally generalists because they know what works, and because there's so much generalization out there now, it's kind of going, well, what are we going to do? And so we then end up, the theory being, and it's a good article, says, well, actually planning is now about trying to decipher what the client wants rather than solving what the client needs, which is interesting. So I read that and went, aye, okay, rinky dink, tickety boo, welcome to 2020. And then the thing that came in about a day later was a video from 1993, I think it was, of a pitch by AMV for if you're in the UK, the quite legendary and iconic BT It's Good to Talk campaign. The reason they recorded this pitch was that they did the pitch originally, but some of the key stakeholders within BT couldn't make the pitch, so they asked AMV to record it, and it was David Abbott, who's the A of AMV, was then kind of was doing the pitch to camera, and it's a masterclass of assuredness and
it's great.
confidence, and he's not fazed by it at all. He's brilliant. But the interesting thing is the difference between what was given to BT to AMV as part of the process, and how and the response to it, and the quality of the work that came out of it.
Do you mean what was good? Do you mean how they were briefed and,
Yeah.
and supporting
Yeah.
what research or
The
background?
whole- I mean, I think the pitch was basically, so the first kind of thing to help us help you is really what BT did to AMV, which is like, these are the goals that we're going for. So to encourage each person in the core market to make an extra 21 calls or spend an additional 75 minutes on the phone across the whole year.
Yeah,
That's
really specific.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You go, okay, that's great. And then the other thing with that is kind of support and legitimize phone usage amongst women who do not enjoy daily face-to-face contact with their peers. And you kind of go, there's stuff in that, and as part of the planning role, you kind of go, right, that's meaty and that's good and it's substantial. And supposedly what happened, and the second point of what I was saying, which is really just about how you can help us, is tell us everything. And BT swamped
Yeah.
the AMV with data and insights and
Research.
and
Consumer research.
the whole thing. And that's fantastic. Just and what's really good, and from what I could tell, it was all pretty unfiltered what they got. But what was really good is that gives not only the ammunition to the gun that you're making, but for what the campaign's going to be. But it also allows you to challenge the original brief.
So what you're kind of saying is from a client perspective, is give us stuff that the more background the better, because there are inquisitive, curious minds at the agency that will read all of this stuff and perhaps take a slightly different view or come up with something.
And if you do, I mean, some of the best things is you can't not learn. If you come up with something and you go, that's crazy, if you're not, you go back to the client and go, why wouldn't you do this? Because the great thing about being in an agency is you can be intelligently naive. You can ask the stupid questions.
Plenty of stupid questions in this agency. No shortage.
No shortage. Stupid. So, I mean, when you kind of get into that, that's really good because they went, what was good is AMV kind of went back and pushed against the brief a little bit to challenge it a little bit. Not that the brief was bad or anything, but kind of going, we think actually there's a slightly better way after reading the research that this could be done, which was great.
So there's a link to the video. So those that are interested, I would urge you to watch it. It's great.
Yeah, no,
it's great.
Yeah,
and even though it's 30 years old or something, it's still really good, and the work is still really strong.
What's really interesting,
even though technology's changed.
Well, I mean, but the platform. I mean, the thing is, you can't beat the good idea. So, and what's great about it is the idea is solid, and the idea is as good as 1993 as it is in 2020. It's fantastic. But what is really, really amazing is when you watch the pitch, and then you watch the ads. The ads from the pitch are the ads that actually went live, literally word for word. That's unheard of because
pure idea.
And that's the great thing about the one route approach is that what you don't get is
we know the smoke and mirrors around the multiple routes, don't we? Why is one route important, Stuart?
One route's important because that's where agencies are going to spend their time.
The 80-20.
Yeah, that's where you're going to spend the time. It's going to be spent 80% of the time is going to be spent on route 1, 20% is going to be spent over route 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think there are no myths.
No.
I think if you're asking for multiple routes, you're crazy.
Yeah, and you're not getting choice. You're not getting choice. You're getting bad creative, and it'll be fine. And
you're getting bastardized route.
Yeah, and not again. I've seen it in other agencies where basically you pull out the old idea draw and you just change the logo. I've seen that happen.
So they did that. They went and they made no apologies of that, did they? They said, "Here we go. This is it. This is all you're getting."
Yep,
and it's right.
Yep. And then once you go in and do the one that's there, and also what was good about it is they focus on language. I love the focus on language.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I believe language is the fulcrum.
Yes, as Mr. Ogilvy said, advertising is the business of words, and it's absolutely right because that's one of the interesting things that's become more and more required over
in the world
last
we live in now.
Yeah, it's all content. It's all that. It's all the written word is stronger, arguably, than it was 30 years ago. Arguably, so I'm a big believer. Fire your agency if they come in with more than one route, and fire your agency if they come in starting to show you pictures. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. I've been in pitches where you show the visual, and without understanding the language in that, you've already lost somebody who goes, "I don't like that blue," and you've totally derailed the entire pitch. Words, and something you say, Chris, is that words humanize everything, the campaign that you're doing,
brand,
so everything that is built upon that. So
they deliver the emotion.
Yeah, and when you've got, and again, what's amazing about the pitch is that you've got the emotion in the words. And with Bob Hoskin, who was the guy they always wanted to have in the campaign, and he's just tremendous. Especially when you think in the early 90s, it's he's not playing true to he's not being the hard man of the, he's being
the soft man.
Yeah, he's being quite soft. So it's good. I mean, it's good to talk and phone your mum and don't just ask her how she's doing. Ask her about her week because that's all about building up the time on the
consumption.
Yeah, and you can see it. It all fits together. It's all really well. And, I mean, we don't really pitch for work because it's pretty ineffective. It's not a beauty parade and everything else. And I think, the problem with pitching with work is that it's expected that you're going to bring in the 3 routes. And I think when we start with a client, the principles of what AMV have done, we absolutely endorse.
Aspire
we totally carry it. It's the idea, it's language, it's one route, it's digging deep. It's
Yeah.
understanding the economic
Conviction, yeah.
the economic context of what you're trying to achieve. It's then kind of making sure that there's good thinking behind it, and then finally adding a bit of creative flair at the end of it to make sure it all comes together and is humanized and delivers. That at the end of it you can report on. Done this
Goes
the
full
wrong
circle.
way around.
So that's your
Done this the wrong way around.
your
Oh,
advice to clients about how to get the best out of their
Yeah. It's kind of, and sometimes it's a bit scary because the one route approach is kind of scary for some clients because they kind of go, but what if I don't like it? And
What
you
if
go,
the
well,
chairman doesn't like this?
yeah. So you can pick, and we've had bits and pieces of that before, you know, like, well, they'd like to see something else. We go, well, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and, well, you know, we've done that. But so it was a good, I think it's back to the DigiDay thing. I think if you can help us, you'll get better work, beautiful
Sure.
clients, and that's the thing. And
That was good. Are we? That's us.
That's us.
I don't know if everyone's asleep or
Well,
not.
I don't really care because I do care. Of course, I care. You got to care about your customers. That's the real number one. But no, that was it. That was the first one we'll do. We'll have a wee play and we'll see, and you know, so we'll just kind of do
forward
that.
to
But no, but we'd like to just thank you very much, and then you know, that's You've
there's
no
the music.
idea how long it took us to pick this music, and it's the cheesiest.
Let's play it.
thing.
Let's listen to it. a bit.
All right, okay. Yeah, this is what we play when we go on planes to America. It's very Alan Wicker. Do you know what I mean? That's what I like about it.
Very good.
But you can ask your dad who Alan Wicker was. Okay,
Kill it, Stuart.
thank
Kill
you
it.
very much.
All right, man.